Let me say a word about the Barr nomination. I got to sit down with Mr. Barr yesterday. I told him something that, and I meant it. I looked at Mr. Barr, his wife, and his family, and thought, he's a good person. He really is. You could tell it just by looking at his family. And I think wall-to-wall lawyers, dedicated to public service, but good people. And I told him as much. He liked my line about his godson becoming a public defender. But at the end of it, I thought he's a good person. And he has a reputation and experience when it comes to the whole question of the rule of law and the future of the Department of Justice. I likened him in a way to General Mattis. I might not have, at one point in my life, voted for many four-star generals, but I sure voted for him to be Secretary of Defense. I wanted a grown-up in the room when questions of national security were raised with this president. And basically, I had the same instinct when it came to Bill Barr. But there's just one thing that troubles me, and troubles me greatly, and really colors my decision on my vote. Mr. Chairman, we're in a pretty depressing period of time here in Washington with government shutdowns and all the possibilities. Let me give some good news to everybody who's gathered today. 2 weeks from today, the first spring training baseball game. So look ahead with some optimism that things are going to get better, at least on that front. One of my favorite books on baseball, and I like baseball, is Lefty's Legacy, written by Jane Levy, and it's a story of Sandy Koufax. What an amazing pitcher. Maybe the best southpaw in the history of baseball. But Sandy Koufax had two pitches. He had a curveball and a fastball, and that was it. They were damn good. And batters were always looking for a signal from him as to which pitch was coming in the hopes that maybe they could finally hit this man. He rarely showed that signal. He rarely telegraphed his pitch. Unfortunately, Bill Barr has telegraphed his pitch when it comes to this investigation by Mr. Mueller. I can't understand, and I told him, I can't understand why you volunteered a 19-page memo to the Trump administration. What was that all about? You're a private citizen. Well, I don't do that very often, he said. And I said, I'm sure you don't. Most people don't. Turns out he'd also been asked to be part of the defense team for the president as well. Those are not good circumstances when we consider the job he's asking for, to ultimately receive the result of the Mueller inquiry and decide whether to share it with the American people.
In fact,
he has telegraphed his pitch in terms of the unitary executive theory. And as I read some of the comments that he made, I mean, they are just jaw-dropping. Let me read from the 19-page memo. Constitutionally, it is wrong to conceive of the president as simply the highest officer within the executive branch hierarchy. He alone is the executive branch. As such, he is the sole repository of all executive powers conferred by the Constitution. Takes your breath away. At a moment when we are investigating this president, at a moment when we are asking Mr. Mueller, thumbs up or thumbs down, here comes a man wanting to be Attorney General who expresses that point of view. Did you listen to the State of the Union the other night? I did. Sat there and listened to every word of it. There were some chilling statements made by this president. I don't believe there's a president in the history of this country that has stood before a joint session of Congress and questioned the right of Congress to investigate him and his administration. This president did, and did it blatantly twice during the course of that speech. That should worry everyone. All of us have taken an oath to this Constitution and this form of democracy. So let me just conclude, Mr. Chairman. I'll be voting against Mr. Barr. I hope I'm wrong. I hope if he's the next Attorney General, and he's likely to be, that what I saw in his family, what I saw in his resume, what I've seen in his commitment to the issue of justice will come through clearly, and he'll stand up for this Constitution even if it's against the wishes of this president.